When it comes to the rebuild, first thing you want to do is put that in there. I'm not going to fit it today, but I will show you how it's done. Place it as if it's just sitting on the top. Make sure it's as level as possible. And then what you should do is try and find a socket and just tap it in until it goes home. When you're going to do the pulley shaft, get the bearing. If there's a specific way it needs to turn, make sure you're paying attention to that. But installation is literally the reverse of what I've just said before, which is get a pulley on the other end and push it until it goes into that ring there. So probably key to note is find out where that, I don't really know, that polished mark is from where the old one was. On mine, it didn't go the whole way to the bottom. So it's just good to pay attention, just to ensure that you've got it in the right place. But yeah, that's all you need to do to install it. That shaft, now with the seal on it, will go in through the front. And best thing to do is probably grease the inside of this so that it goes in. But you can just use a mallet to tap that in and it will sit snug against the front. And then you can reapply your circlip. Make sure that your dowel is in there. As I said at the beginning of the video, my dowel is missing in action. I've had to order a couple. I was an idiot and lost it somewhere. First thing that goes in is the spring. Second thing that goes in is this funky thing, which really I'm not sure what it does. Replace the seal. Really do a side-by-side comparison. So pull this one off, find one in your bag of goodies that looks approximate, stick it on the side. Again, use grease so you don't stick it on dry. That goes in. The dowel should be poking through one of these slots here. There really is no other way of doing it. You might get confused when putting it in, because there are these kind of perfect slots here for what might be where you want to put the dowel. But what I found is that if you do put them there, one, this is lopsided, and two, you can't actually put the back on because it stops the ability to compress up against the spring. Dowels go in like so. And then this serves as a guide for this thing. So the 3 dots need to be pointing up. Yeah, 3 dots up. Now, this thing. So this is nothing more than a metal block with loose, not attached to anything, vanes. I say loose, so they come out like that. First thing, even though it is counterintuitive, because you can see here it's flat around the bottom and then there's a cog at the top, place it in with the cog slots upwards. What that means is that is already engaged, but probably the bottom half. You'll see it whenever you've got the shaft in. But as it's compressed, then the rest of the shaft will engage into this. Next thing that you need to do, put this seal in. So this goes into the bottom slot down there. You can see that. And then this is the backing plate, and the backing plate just slots in like that. So this is where it gets tricky, and I'm not going to show it on the video. In order to get the snap ring back in, because you remember this was attached, you will need a puller or a clamp, something basically to push. You will also need that puller or clamp to have quite a wide thing that it's pushing against. So this is actually a bottom bracket tool which I used, which seemed to do the trick. You need to push this thing as far down as it will go, and then when you expose the slot for the snap ring, slot it in. It's a pain in the arse of a job. Took me about half an hour to eventually get it right. I even pulled it apart and put it back together again. This thing comes out. It's a 22mm socket. Again, I'm going to advise you, make sure that you get a hex socket. Don't get one of those naff ones that come out of Halfords where you've got multi-points on them. All they do is they seem to round the nuts off. Iron impact wrench, that kind of works quite nicely. You get it so far, and then they're just basically a screw fit. They come out. There is one of the O-rings there that you can see, not replaced. There is also a spring and a valve. And that spring sits on the top of the valve. That valve goes into the chamber. And then, and I can't do this on video because it requires 2 hands. Actually, maybe I'll do it. Just about. So that's a loose fit right now. But yeah, so that just sits into that chamber there. And once that's done, the next thing to do is get a new seal, place it onto that, fit that, and then you're home dry by just basically replacing the, I don't know what they're called actually, pins, retaining locks, whatever, onto these, which is the reverse of what I showed you at the beginning of the video. And then finally, once that's done, you get to fit this thing back on. And this is much easier as a job. What I would do is grease the shaft as you've done before, and then take this tool, as I said, I've chopped off the end of this, locate it quite snugly, and then all you really need to do is just, actually, let me just show you. Sorry for the squeal. Hurt my finger yesterday. So this goes in there, screw that up nice and tight, and then this goes down to the bottom, and then all you need to do is you just make it tighter and tighter towards the bottom, and then that forces that onto the spindle, and then you're done.